That's the sort of thing you'd do. You'd buy a 250 quid car and then spend 500 quid on it immediately.
I'd ask Jake what he'd do with it, and then I'd ignore him.
And do what he was going to do anyway.
Do what I was going to do anyway, and then go, fucking hell, this has been really expensive, and it hasn't quite worked the way I hoped. Why has this happened to me?
Jake told you not to map the hours.
The rods can't take it, man.
Jake's built like 10 Arises.
He goes to the Nürburgring all the time in diesel Arises.
1.6 diesel Arises, no less.
Well, yeah.
Aircon's mint though.
Well, that's the most important thing.
Yeah.
Hello and welcome to the Idle Chat podcast. We are your hosts. I'm Callum and this is Adam.
Hello.
Today we're going to write a love letter to drifting. We're going to have a discussion about what we love about the sport, why we got into it, what we enjoy about it, from the stylistic aspect all the way through to competition and everything in between. So sit tight, relax and enjoy. So I'm going to shoot from the hip for this one. I'm going to pose you a question and we'll see where it goes. So my question to you is, what do you love about drifting?
Oh,
and
how much time we got?
Exactly.
Where do I start? I'm going to start... Well, I've done a bit of motorsport, track days and stuff like that, but nothing too serious. The biggest difference with drifting is, and I remember Leighton, I don't think you met Leighton. Leighton owns and runs RMA track days. They're a prestigious track day company. So proper petrolhead.
Yeah.
But don't worry, this is going to come full circle.
No,
it will make sense.
No.
He came to Matsuri a few years ago with Craig and Jake and a few others. And he came out in the car and he was like, I can't believe how friendly everyone is. Yeah. And how everyone's up for having a good time and everyone's helping everyone out. And I've asked like 2 or 3 people to jump in their cars and they're like, yeah, crack on. And they're like moving harnesses and moving this and moving that to accommodate me to go on a passenger lap. And when you go and do any form of motorsport, it's quite, like, I find most are quite closed.
Yeah.
It's quite regimented and they don't want to talk.
Very clicky.
Very clicky. Very like, they're not there for the fun necessarily. They're there to compete or they're there to do the best lap time, and it takes a lot of the fun out of it.
Yeah.
And fundamentally, drifting is very little pressure and a hell of a lot of fun. Everyone is there for fun. Like whether you're in a serious pro car or an entry-level car, everyone is there to have a good time. And if I've got a hose that fits someone else's car and I don't need it, they can have it, so they can carry on going and have fun. Whereas if you go on a track day, it's like, well, I better not lend in that hose just in case I need it.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's the for me it's the fun that everyone has and the camaraderie and the piss taking and that makes it so much more enjoyable. Yeah. The other side of it is the technical aspect. So for me, like if you go and do a track day, this is just an example, there's loads of different motorsports you could do, but if you went and did
track day is another easily accessible motorsport, isn't it?
Correct.
Like
it's somewhere you can
the average person can make a start in.
Correct. You can take your track car, drive it or trailer it, same as drifting.
You take your diesel Golf.
So whatever. You can turn up to the track, you can bomb round, you can drive home. And it costs you maybe a set of tyres if you're really going hard, some brake pads, some fuel and a ticket. Yeah. That's it. And drifting is kind of similar. I know tyres are more expensive, but brake pads aren't. So, and seriously, like you can spend crazy money. R350Z, the front pads in that were 260 quid.
Mine were from Euros, they were £30.
There you go. So you can kill a lot of money doing track days. But anyway, track days, you go out, you can't time it. So immediately...
No, you're not allowed to, are you?
No, not last time. Unless you go to an RMA track day like Leighton or someone like that. If you go to MSV or a Javelin or any of the usual ones, you can't time it. And if they catch you timing it, you're out. So you can't race against yourself. Okay. So can you race against anyone else? No. Okay. So you're just going round.
You're just existing.
You're just going
existing
round.
on a different bit of tarmac for the day.
So I'll go on this piece of tarmac. And for a few hours, it's good fun. And then you get to lunchtime and you're like, well, I think maybe there's a second in it here or half a second in it there, but who really cares?
Yeah.
Like you feel like you've kind of done it. Or I feel like I have. Drifting, I think of all the runs I've done in the last probably 10 events, there's probably only 2 or 3 runs that I'm actually genuinely really happy with.
Yeah.
Because there's so many variables. There's so much technique, especially in driving a car like this, which is difficult to drive but rewarding when it comes good. There's the 360 that I did. I was happy with that. And there's probably a couple of backwards entries at Silverstone that I was happy with, and that's about it. So every time I go, I'm always striving to improve that 360 or improve that backwards entry. Whereas if I had this car set up as a track car and I can't time it, I can't race anyone, and everyone's a bit clicky,
you hit a ceiling pretty fast, don't you? And then
you're like, why am I going to Donington again to do the same track again in the same car again that I can't race and I can't time? It gets a bit boring, if I'm honest, unless you're in something rapid, but then you're down the rabbit hole of money that I don't have.
Funneling every pound you have into a hobby that's meant to be fun.
Just don't have that money. So drifting allows me to go and push what I can do. It's a hell of a challenge to do. But that's just talking about solo runs. Then you've got your twinning and everything else. And there's so many variables. It's never the same. So you never know what to expect. Track conditions, different tyres, whatever. Different tracks, different surfaces. It's always different. So I find drifting more compelling and interesting. So there's the camaraderie, the fun, the banter, the emotional, I suppose, side of it, you could say. Then there's like the technical side of it. And I'd say the final thing, before I ask you the same question, is with drifting. So with a motorsport, it doesn't really matter what it is. Even a track day, you've got a GT3 RS. Okay, well, you've got carbon ceramic brakes, Michelin Pilot Sport tyres, off you go.
As it turned up from Porsche.
Yeah, with drifting, it's, what have you got? I built it in a shed. It's got an OM 606 diesel. It's 700 horsepower. It's a Mercedes wagon, but it's carbon Kevlar. Or you've got, it's an MX-5 turbo, or it's an E36 with a V8, or it's a S15 with a 2J, or an S15 with an SR. Or every car is different, and there's no right or wrong. It's not like your car has to be this.
There's not many motorsports where there's no rule book.
Literally. And it's like...
very basic. 4 wheels, needs to be rear-wheel drive.
And you
doesn't have to have always been rear-wheel drive, but doesn't need to be.
Precisely.
And that's about as far as, like, you can do what you want, can't you? You really
is it rear-wheel drive? Yes. Is it safe? Kinda. Go.
Depends who's asking.
Yeah, go. Like, is it over 105 decibels?
Probably.
Probably. But how far away are you going to stand? Like,
how friendly are you?
Literally. And it's go. And have your mates in. Twin with your mates. Don't twin with your mates. Do backwards entries. Do 360s. Do whatever the hell you want to do. There's a racetrack. There's a 600 horsepower car you built with your mate.
Have at
go. And that doesn't happen. Any sort of spec or series racing or anything, even if you're like grass track and buggy racing and stuff like that, they all have a recipe.
They all have a fairly strict rule book.
They do.
To keep it competitive.
But they all have you buy this engine and this gearbox and this suspension.
Yeah, that's
and this
what I mean. You have a recipe that you follow every time, don't you?
With drifting, it's like some bloke built this in his shed. He's a psychopath. Go. I mean, like Matsuri, you've got, I'm going to use him as an example, you've got like your George Barclays and your Bagsies and their 1,000 horsepower pro cars. Then you've got Avon the Crack lads, who have got a YB powered Escort van with a sequential. They've got a Mark II Escort, Mexico or whatever. And then they've got a Land Rover, a Defender with a V8 in it.
With an LS in it.
And everyone's like, you crack on, mate. Now, to be honest with you, it looked awful to drive, but hilarious.
They're having a scream.
And they're having a great time. And they're like, I watched on the start line, it's one of the having the crack lads in the Land Rover, he went up the hill, initiated left, and DB'd it. So just went straight over the tyre, over the grass, and ended up near the barrier.
I wouldn't have been able to do that. I'd have ripped my car apart, but he was in a Land Rover.
But he was having a great time.
Back to the Land Rover's roots.
Yeah, he was having a great time. So, I can wax lyrical ages and ages about...
That's the whole point of this
drifting, but...
This podcast.
True. I mean, they're my 3, I would say, main things. I can go on from there, but I would say it's the camaraderie, the banter, and all that sort of stuff. The do what the hell you want. As long as it's safe. And you can express yourself. You can have a leery Japanese-looking car.
Well, look, I'm sure, if you look at Matsuri, how many S15s were there? There was multiple, I should think. You weren't been the only one.
4 or 5.
But none of them look the same, did they?
No.
And they're the same car.
No.
E36s, like whatever car was there, because there is only so many cars in this country that we have access to that we can use. So,
Yeah.
I mean, there was only one Land Rover Defender.
There was only one Land Rover Defender.
But the commonplace cars that you see day to day, drifting. Well, I say day to day, but you see commonly drifting. None of them, very few of them look the same, do they? Everyone's got their own expression and take on them.
No, you can, like you say, you can express yourself. I mean, like people like Nico, who've got a S14, dark green, proper sleek, cool, stancy looking car. And you've got other people with an S14, which is like raised at the front, Japanese looking, big wing, and a supercharged V8 in it. And there's very big difference between an SR clean car and that car. And but what I said earlier was there's no right nor wrong.
Yeah, but neither are wrong. Yeah.
So we're like, you go to a track day and they'll go, you haven't got the carbon ceramics, or you haven't got this, or you haven't got that, or that downforce is going to be awful over that front splitter. In drifting, it's like, yo, let's go for a run. And it's
Let's see what happens.
Yeah, let's see what happens. Your car.
Follow me. I might make it.
How much horsepower do you have? 300? Oh, well, this might be a fun then. We've got double what you've got, but we'll make it work. And that doesn't happen on like a track day. You just get some dude in the cater room, just tear off. And that's it. That's the end of it.
See ya.
Yeah. And then you're like, oh, well, I'll just do some laps.
I've never seen two people finish a track day and come off track into the pits fist bumping, go, that was sick.
Literally.
You see that all the time in drift.
All the time. Or you get into the pits, there's like guys hugging each other or high-fiving because they've just done a sick run. And
Or had an accident.
And
they still very often have a similar reaction.
But if that happened, again, I'm going to use track days. If that happened on a track day, he'd be fuming.
Well, yeah.
He'd be, you got in the way, you...
You're on the wrong line.
Yeah,
you
you're on
missed
the wrong line. You literally, oh, your tyre's over here, and I told you those Dunlops are no good.
Yeah.
Where in a drifting, it's like, let's pull it out.
Where's a hammer? Let me kick it.
Yeah, I've got a door at home. Don't worry, I'll post it to you.
Yeah.
And it's
there is a lot of that.
It's everyone is there for a good time. We said it before about Jake's gearbox. You know, people that weren't even going to drive, they just wanted to go and spectate. I think Josh, Ed, there's a couple others as well, I'm not quite sure.
There was about 15 of us on that job.
And they were all under that car, getting Jake back out.
If they weren't under it, they were passing us tools, they were passing us parts.
Yep.
Everyone was checking, have you got what you need?
Yeah, I was in it doing the selector and the interior trim bits, and everyone else was underneath it. Yeah. And between us, like I say, we smashed it out in an hour. Now, that would be the end of your day.
Yeah.
If you went to any other event.
Also, worth noting, smashed it out in an hour at 1 o'clock on the Sunday of the weekend.
Yeah, good point.
So normally you would load that up, but...
Oh, I've had a good day yesterday.
It is what it is. We had a good weekend. But everyone was like, oh, we can get that done.
No.
There's way more track time left. Yeah.
Jake, hold my beer. Yeah. Get in that car.
Get that box out of that truck, because we're on it.
But that doesn't... I mean, I haven't experienced every motorsport, so it's not fair to say that happens in our motorsport and not in others. I'm sure in drag racing it probably happens.
Yeah, I'm sure it does.
But in our motorsport, it certainly seems like that is a core principle of it.
Yeah. It is fun with the boys.
Yes.
Or girls, but mainly boys.
Yeah, mainly boys. Yeah. But
it is a good time with the boys, and if that means you take parts off your car to help someone at times, then that is what happens, isn't it?
But you key part of that is as well, you might say, well, at track days, everyone's having a good time, so they'll help each other out. They're not doing that at British Touring Car, though. No. But they are doing that at Drift Masters.
Yeah, absolutely.
So at the peak of European drifting, they are swapping heads off other cars an hour. Dave Egan,
yeah, we saw that this
an
weekend,
hour before he's supposed to be competing, most people would throw in the towel. No, they're pulling the hell off another engine.
And they had 3 teams there helping them.
Precisely. And to get Dave Egan out, now they could have been like, he's never going to win this battle. But they still wanted to get him out to give him the chance to battle. Yeah. And I can't see that happening in any other motorsport.
No, definitely not.
And that's why I think personally drifting's so, maybe not the best motorsport ever, although I might think it is, but it's certainly special. You can't argue that it's not special.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. I couldn't disagree in the slightest with any of that. I mean, that is really, I think if you asked most people in drifting, you'd have a similar answer. Yeah. I don't think many people would say too many things too dissimilar to that. I think we all kind of feel very similar, and I guess that's why it works, because everyone feels similar. You end up with these natural moments where the worst happens in people's cars, and people will go, oh, well, that's blown up, but mine's working, take that out. Cheat
Yeah,
yourself
literally.
Up, or,
Yeah,
you know,
that
like,
happens.
that's, or should we swap cars? I want to see what that's all about. Yeah, fine. Take my £50,000 investment out. It's no problem. And it is what it is. People are very sharing, which you don't tend to see in a lot of other
I
hobbies.
think everyone just wants to see everyone have a good time.
Definitely.
That's what it fundamentally boils down to.
And that's
if,
certainly what I enjoy about it.
Yeah, and if that means you're going to chuck Ed the keys to your 350Z, then that's what's going to happen. Yeah. If that means you're going to swap a gearbox on an hour, no, I don't want to be rolling around in a dusty car park for an hour, but I want to see this guy have a good time.
When we did Jake's box, you were driving, I was driving.
Yeah.
We both stopped. Missed out on track time to help get Jake back out.
Yep.
And I'd do it again tomorrow if we were in the same boat.
Yeah, and equally, later on that year, same year we did the gearbox, I broke a shaft at Matsuri.
Yeah.
And I got towed in, and Jake's in the pit, and he's like, diff or shaft? And I said, shaft. And he looked underneath the car and was like, oh, good, I think it was the passenger side, which is easier to do.
Yeah.
So he was like, mint. And he ran off, he came back, and he's got wheel guns, ratchet spanners, whatever's. I get out and jack it up. He's already got the wheel off. Yeah. He's already in there, taking the nut off the drive shaft. And he's like, go get your drive shaft. By the time I got back, he's got the shaft nearly out.
Yeah.
I put the shaft back in. I do the diff bolts up. He puts the arms back on and the hub back on, and off we go. And in 25 minutes, something that would have took me an hour and a half, probably on my own, I'm not the quickest.
It's done.
It's done.
Yeah.
So I've missed.
And if you didn't have a shaft and he did, that would have been in the car.
Yeah, he'd just sort me out later.
We'll sort it out another day.
Yeah.
There's a lot of trust, isn't there? And
there's a lot of trust. There's a lot. I think everyone gets it. If you do it, you get it. And you've been there. You've been there in that position where you've blown a gearbox halfway through the day and you're going home. Now, in an ideal world, you'd love your mates to come and help you and put a gearbox in, but you're never going to ask them.
No. And Jake said the same thing. He didn't want to put the box in. He said we all said, "Have you got a box?" Because we sort of knew he did.
Jake has everything.
Yeah, because Jake has one of everything. And this was before he had his big boy box in, wasn't it? So we knew we'd seen one in the back of the truck, and he's like, "Yeah, but no, we'll load it up." And Ed already had his overalls on and had a jack under the car. I was like, "Get that box out of that car." We'll get that in. And it wasn't an option on Jake's part. It was we'll do that. Let's get on with it.
Yeah.
And everyone, even without sort of speaking, took a role. I'll get this, you get that. I'll do this, you do that. Everyone had their role, and like I say, an hour we had a box changed.
Yeah, and I said, I can't think of any other motorsports.
Same the year after with your car. We had box issues with this.
Yeah.
That night we could have all gone back to the hotel and gone, well, Adam's having a bad day, isn't it? His box is broken. But let's get the box out, let's see if we can fix it.
Yes.
Even though we didn't really have a solution,
we didn't have a solution, but we thought maybe we can make this
Maybe we can make this better. Yeah.
It turns out it didn't work, but we tried it, and I appreciate that. And equally, if someone needed a hand doing the same on their car, then I would do the same.
Think anything of it.
Yeah. If they needed a spigot bearing or whatever they might need, I'll get one of those. I'll order one. I chewed for a lot of spigot bearings. They were consumable.
It was a bad time. It was a dark time in your life.
Yeah, I don't want to go back there. It was a bad time.
But it definitely has a lot of. It's almost like a team sport without being a team. Everyone's there for an event, but there's still got that kind of team mentality of, we can't let him go out like that. Or I've got parts to get you out. And
that's no matter where you go, no matter what event you go to, parts. Have you got one of these? No. Have you got one of these? Yeah, I've got one of those.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
What do you want for it?
£500 part.
Yeah. What do you want for it? Oh, we'll sort it out later.
Yeah.
And every time I've been to an event, it's been exactly the same. No matter what event I've been to, I remember George Barclay's lent out spark plugs and done this and done that for people because he carries a lot of spares because he's got a lot of space in the truck. So people know he's got X, Y, Z, and he's just like, I'll sort it out later. Yeah. But he doesn't need
a lot of trust there because people will abuse it, could and will abuse it, but rarely do.
Rarely do. I mean,
you rarely hear of that, do you, in our sport?
No, and because I think you've said before, because it's quite a close-knit sport, if you do fuck someone over, everyone will find out.
Yeah.
So
your name is sort of going to be mud pretty quickly.
Literally, and next time you ask for a drive shaft or whatever, you're not going to get one.
No, you're going to be changing your gearbox on your own.
Exactly. So it's like a community, like
an
a family.
Honesty box.
Yeah, like
one big honesty box.
But it's like a community, like a family. Like everyone's there to have a good time. Everyone's going to chuck in whatever they can to make sure that person, if they've had an issue, that issue's resolved. And if they can't resolve it, they've given it a damn good try.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And people, even spectators, are willing to do that as well. Like I've seen at Dory Fest 1, someone had a big incident with the wall, didn't they? Ollie had a big old hit into the wall with the MX-5.
Yeah. He flicked it right, flicked it left.
And then the car didn't
Straight into the
respond to
wall.
go right again. And
Straight into the
sadly,
wall.
he'd street driven the car there from like Worcester or something.
Yeah.
And
I
I saw someone else, maybe or maybe not, put his number plates on their car. I put his car on the trailer and drive it home for him.
Yeah, which they didn't have to do.
No, they didn't have to do that, but
But they've helped him out.
yeah, absolutely.
And if not, he would have been stuck.
Very, because that car was not going back together.
Oh no!
That was
I
the
don't
end
even know, I don't know what happened to that car.
That was
but
the end of that car.
I presume dead.
Yeah, it was
that
the
was a
end of it.
big hit.
Big sads. But everyone did it. First thing was everyone checked it was all right. Second thing was everyone was like, what do you need to get this back out? Then everyone looked at it and went, you need a new shell. We haven't got one of them with us. How do we get you home? Because you're a long way from home.
But I was there. I was watching when it happened. I was on the. I think the car was hot or something. Surprise.
Shock.
RBs do that. I mean, they are God's engine, but
Absolutely.
they do get warm.
I'll hear nothing bad said of them, but they are a bit warm.
And I don't want to go rear end. No. So no, I was there on the wall, and if that happened, I would say on a track day or at some sort of other event, people would be like, ha, 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 look at that guy. No, that whole wall, everyone went, oh no, like no one wanted to see that. No one wanted to see that. And everyone just like their heart sunk for the poor lad.
Yeah.
Because anyone who's in the sport knows how much time, effort, money, dedication it takes to get to a lovely looking MX-5 and drive it hard, and then just one little mistake and everything's gone.
Yeah, absolutely.
And everyone was
He literally just caught understeer at the wrong time.
He did nothing wrong. He just made a small mistake, and that was it. And it hit the wall, and that was
And he'd
that.
been doing it all day and been flying.
Yeah.
Just that one time.
But it can happen.
Yeah.
It can happen. I've thrown the car in thinking it's got grip, and I'm on cords, and I'm sailing off into the distance.
That's where it all gets real hairy.
Yeah, but I've got away with it. But at some point, I might not.
No.
So, it sucked. But the general, no one was over there Snapchatting and videoing his car.
No.
Everyone was over there trying to like help him out. Are you okay? What can we do? Can we pull it straight? Let's put it on the trailer. Take this car.
Yeah.
It wasn't ha, look at this idiot.
That looks fun. See you later.
Yeah.
There was none of that.
Yeah, and that I think again is testament to the type of people that do the sport. And I remember Sweepscast again. We've already had Jake cast. We might as well Sweepscast.
We'll mention Tom in a bit.
Yeah, we'll do Tom in a bit. I've mentioned George Bartley as well, so we're doing well.
Yeah, we need a bell. We need a buzzer or a cannon for all the people.
We've got to mention Axel, someone else. No, I remember Sweep said at the driver's briefing for Matsuri that Anglesy's track staff said that the Drift Matsuri events, they have track marshals that will only do those events because of the people, because they say the people are so respectful. They're like fist pumping the marshals, they're high fiving the marshals, they're waving at the marshals, like they're including them, because that job to stand in the sea, on a hill in the sea,
pissing sideways rain.
For best part of 20 hours over a weekend,
Listening to tyre squeal.
listening to and the people respect that and will include them, and they feel part of the
event.
Yes, and part of the sort of family community.
It's
and he said that a lot of people, like I said, a lot of marshals will only do that event because of that.
And I think that's something to be proud to be a part of.
100%.
So I think we're lucky. Obviously, every single community in the world of everything has its lemons, but on the whole, we do pretty well. We
not many.
No, they tend to get found out in our sport pretty quickly and they disappear again. But not to take a negative spin on things, because on the whole, it is fantastic. So we're lucky that. I guess, like you said, it's that kind of everyone's in the same pain. We're all suffering together. So if we can help someone suffer a bit less, then we're happy to do so.
We all suffer the same affliction of drifting.
Yeah,
we all suffer together.
It's a painful one, definitely.
Go on then. What's yours?
Yes, I guess mine is a very similar sentiment. I guess the ability to express yourself is something that I really like.
Yeah.
It might shock you, was never a skateboarder, and nor was I ever a BMXer.
Really?
No, which was quite an expressional sport, but couldn't find the right bike. So I certainly never
can't
had...
do it in a mobility scooter, can you?
No, the rascal didn't quite have it. So I've always enjoyed. I suppose the ability to. There's multiple ways to express yourself in the sport, which is appealing. So
there's no right or wrong. As we said,
and the styling of the car is one thing, which I have my way, just like every other person in the sport has their way of doing things, and that's quite. I think the rolling car show aspect of the event is something that I really love. I was into modified cars before I was into drift. I suppose they kind of came side by side, but what I enjoyed looking at as a kid was modified cars, and there's not many more modified cars out and about than something like this.
Yeah.
So that kind of way to express yourself in the styling of the car, the mechanical setup of the car. What I literally picked the turbo for my Skyline from the sand it made.
Yeah, you did.
It wasn't performance based. There was a better option, and I went no because I really like the sound of GTX, mate. So I want one of those.
So rewind. You could have made 500 horsepower, even though you made 499.
Yeah, I could have made loads more, but I chose the turbo size the turbo based on the sound it made. And I think that's a ridiculous sentiment, but some people will get that. They'll understand what I mean from that. To me, like, these cars are and what we do with them is a big old occasion.
Yeah.
And the more you can add to that, the more I enjoy the sport, and I enjoy seeing different people do the same thing.
Yeah.
And like you said, with engine swaps and a lot of it is home built, which I like as well. It's sort of everyone's little take on things is something that I really enjoy seeing. I'm an engineer by trade, so seeing how everyone's had a different take on how to do the same thing.
Yes.
At times, like, you know, there's suggested, there's serving suggestions, but there's no perfect recipe.
Correct.
Like, you know, there is a way that is probably the correct way to do it in terms of if you wanted to compete or whatnot, but there isn't a solid, hard and fast rule in terms of
even
you
so,
must do this.
You look at competing, you've got people like Martin Richards when he was competing in the 32, which is low, not liveried up, just a few stickers, Workmeisters, looks like a show car.
Yeah, and it looks phenomenal.
Looks phenomenal. And then you've got other cars which have got German doner kebab signs down the side of them, raised up,
I like
with
that
Larry kits. Yeah, I like German doner kebabs. You're more so than me, but yeah, you've got a complete. Although it's this same drift series, at the same time, and they're both aiming for the same goal. There's two very different cars, and you've got Matey Boy with a 2-litre Audi engine, and you've got Heineken with a
Dodge
NASCAR V8.
Dodge NASCAR V8.
You've got James and a Mustang with a V8. You've got Dwayne with a
there is no
R26.
hard and fast rule on it, and that is exciting to watch.
Correct. And as you said, it's an extension of you, and you can express yourself like you said about the turbo. I like that turbo. Now I like RBs, so do you. I like the noise. I like the fact that they're generally not too unreliable.
I kind of like the fact that they're the underdog.
Yeah,
a little bit of me likes that aspect of RBs as well. I am willing to say it would be easier to put a 2J in most stuff.
Yeah,
and it would probably be more reliable. Yeah, and probably not cheaper anymore because 2Js have got very expensive. But there was certainly a time where it wouldn't have been a massive cost difference.
Nope.
If anything, you probably could chuck a stock 2J in for what you would have to do to an RB to make it quote unquote reliable. But I kind of like that aspect of it.
Yeah,
go in the hard route. Yeah, the harder route.
I like the fact that it's a Nissan engine and a Nissan car.
Yeah,
I know that's stupid.
Yeah, no, I agree.
But
I absolutely agree.
But again, that's part of drifting and part of you can do what you want.
But you could also have slung an LS in this, and on paper, probably a better engine for drifting. Low down torque, makes good power.
Yeah, I mean,
broad power band.
I would have,
but it's not your thing.
Oh God, no.
But I am kind of interested in a massive turboed LS that makes silly horsepower, but that's more just for pub figures.
Yeah, it's just because you can.
Yeah, because it's outlandish.
What does it feel like?
Yeah. What's this like? Yeah. How does this
Charlie Hulme's building... Charlie Hulme, we've mentioned him before as well. He's building an SR... Oh, sorry, he had an SR S13. It kept breaking. He's building a 3UZ turbo S13. Yeah. Just because he wants something reliable that makes 600 horsepower. And to be fair, that's a pretty decent recipe. Yeah.
But again, it's a whole other take on an S13. And he's doing it with this style of setup on it.
Japan style.
Which will be very interesting to see.
Naoki. So Naoki's got a V8 PS13.
One of everything.
He's got a 2J. He's got a GR86. But they're all different.
Yeah.
S15, okay, it's 2J, but it's different. Yeah. They're all different. Yeah. But there's no... But he has... bit like you said about um, skateboarding and stuff. With skateboarding, you tend to, or BMX or any extreme sport, snowboarding, whatever, people have a style.
Yeah.
Like, you know, even though you can't tell who that is, they're too far away and they're wearing a helmet. Like, you know, by the way his bikes looks and the way he does that trick.
Yeah.
Oh, that's Matt, or that's Callum, or that's whoever. And I think it's same.
Not Callum. It was never Callum.
No, it's not. Frame, not substantial enough. A lot of braces. But a lot of gussets.
Yeah,
but
fucking lot.
But yeah, it's there's a style to it and a flair of your own imagination.
Yeah. And your own take on it. I think another aspect of drifting I really like is it's ever evolving. You dip your toe in the sport of drifting and you turn up to Santa Pod or North Korea in your E36 with a welded diff and a bucket seat in it. And then you've got 4 or 5, 10 events of learning how to drift a corner and link it into another corner. And you think that's all you can focus on. That's great. You've got this drive, something to head towards, and you think, oh, it's going to be amazing. And you eventually get it and you're like, oh my God, that was sick.
Yeah.
But then you go, well, I wonder if I can do the whole track. And then you've got a new goal.
Yeah.
And like that goal is ever changing. And even when you evolve past that and you go, right, now I'm going to go to T side, I'm going to chuck it in flat in third. Okay, well, this is a whole new goal. I want to do that tracking. And then you think, oh, I'm going to wind a load more power into my car and a load of grip. And then that's a whole new thing to learn again.
Don't do that.
No. But you have this the sport kind of never really goes stagnant, I think. If you're about that life, it never really goes stagnant. You can move your goals with the sport.
The key bit of that is you can progress in whatever motorsport, but that means that, so you started with a Clio Cup, and then you went to a Civic, and then you went to a British touring car, and then you went to this. So you're changing cars.
Yeah.
With that, you've still got the E36 you started with 10 years ago.
And also,
but it was a 328 bog stock, and now it's 700 horsepower, sequential, Wisefab, Zestino.
And in the meantime, you've learned how to fabricate, you've learned how to paint or wire or build engines or whatever you've done. You kind of have that, you and your ability evolves with the sport and the car. I mean, that's not for everyone. Some people don't have that ability and they pay people to do it, but you have the ability to evolve both the car and your driving. As you reach your next goal, you can then move that goal and go, oh, I've got a whole new thing to learn now, and this is exciting.
But you might not be mechanically apt, and I'm not the best, I'm far from it, but you might be really good at design. Yeah. So you do the livery. Or you might be really good at paint, or you might be really good at CAD design.
You might be really good at marketing, and you find a way of making it pay for itself.
Yeah, that's probably a better one. But what I'm trying to say is, whatever you're good at, you can apply to what you're doing. Yeah. And you can learn other stuff along the way. I mean, this car's taught me so much about everything car related, and it helps me every single day at work, because I wouldn't know about, any of the stuff that I know about mechanically speaking when the mechanics or whatever ring me up and say, oh, we've got this issue. I'm like, well, you've tried that. Oh, no, we haven't. But I've only learned that because I know I've had that issue with this car. Yeah. Or like
it's applicable, isn't it?
Yeah, when I drive the car, I'm like, this isn't right. It's got brake judder. That feels like it's from the rear. I know that because of this car. So then I tell the mechanics, oh, it's got brake judder from the rear. And they're like, oh, yeah, it does have brake judder from the rear. Yeah. It just, you learn so much. And if you're into cars, whether it be drift cars or just normal cars, it will help you. You'll understand
You're
a lot more.
Naturally curious, aren't you, as well? And I think as well, because you're driving a car on track, you start to, even if you're not mechanically minded, you start to associate X with Y. Yeah. And you go, well, this is doing something weird. And then someone goes, oh, it's this. And you go, oh, so next time I feel that, it means this.
Well, that is the only problem with drifting, obviously, unless you've got the infinite money cheat. You do need to be able to, if you can't work on your car, at least understand what it's doing wrong and why it's probably doing that, so that you've got an idea as to where to look. Yeah. Or where to get someone to have a look.
Yeah, definitely.
Or ask someone, can you have a look at this? I don't think it's right. Yeah. And then they're going to have a look at it for you. If you say there's something wrong with my car, they're going to go,
where would you like me to begin? Sir?
Where do you want me to start, sir? Yeah. I think it's important. But so your style is one of your things in the Roland Car Show. So what else?
I think for me, it's the kind of we could go deep here, but it's the kind of
Go on.
It's,
You like that, don't you?
I don't hear that very often. I'm not normally able to carry it out either. But it's the. It sounds cliche, but when you're driving, you don't worry about anything else.
Yes.
It's that.
Yes.
It's that. It's
Yes.
the most chaotic sport in the world on paper. It's everything that you want to watch at touring cars or any circuit racing. When the cars are all wild and sideways and look out of control, it's chaotic and it's interesting. And that is basically what our entire sport is the highlight reel of most other motorsports.
Yeah, that's a very good way of putting it.
And that's our whole hobby. But when you're sat in that car, once you've got your head around how to drive a car properly, arguably, or once you've got your head around how to drift at all, that moment of on track, I don't think about anything else. All my problems at home or work or life problems go away, and you kind of it's sort of automotive therapy, which is a little bit deep, but
no, you're 100%.
I think it's
100%.
a point that I would argue a lot of people, whether they voice it or not, feel. Yeah, because you don't have. Although I'm at a point of being able to drift where I don't necessarily think about drifting, I don't have to think, oh, I need to pull the handbrake here and oh, I need to dip the clutch here. I just do it. I'm also not thinking about, God, Halifax want me to pay this mortgage again, and so and so.
Still haven't got the money,
and the dishwasher's broken, and you just don't worry about any of that.
The dog's eating a kilo of raisins again.
Yeah, you don't think about any.
He does do that.
It kind of just it's like calms the mind a little bit.
No, mate.
Which is a bizarre. It's kind of like the swan analogy, isn't it? Like it's all peaceful on top, but it's mental underneath. And that's what the sport looks like. But we're all sitting in the car having a lovely day.
You're 100% right. I hadn't even thought about it, but I've had this conversation with my other half, Lucy, before, and my parents. And a few times I've contemplated selling up, and a few times I've sort of thought about it, hummed and hard about it, and spoke honestly with my family and my other half about it. And luckily, they're very supportive. And as you rightly say, it's when you're doing it, even when I'm working on the car sometimes, when you're in the moment with the car, you're focused on that car, everything else just disappears. And everyone's got busy lives and stressful lives, but me now, I have more stress and hassle and stuff with my business than I've ever had before. And it's only going to get worse as family grows and stuff like that. So when you've got that 20 minutes of Silverstone where all you're thinking about is, I can throw it in backwards harder, or I can do a 360. They want me to do a 360, and you're thinking about all that.
I'm gonna do it.
Yeah,
and that's all you think about.
And then you get out of the car and you go into the pits, and your missus is high-fiving you, and everyone's like, "That was sick!" And like for that hour, 10 minutes, 2 hours, whatever it may be, nothing else matters.
No, and I think
some people get that from other things.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, but I think Dave Egan summed it up perfectly when he released his documentary years ago called Heroes for the Weekend.
Yes.
And that was the title of it. And I would say that is, as cliche as it sounds, truly how you feel in these cars. I do anyway. You feel like when you do something cool, you're like, that was sick. You're having a great time with your mates. And if you do something exciting, or even if you don't, to be fair, if you're having a good time, all your mates will come up and go, that was cool, that was great, that was awesome, that bit was fun, that was a bit scary.
I don't even know if it's that. There's a dopamine, there's a satisfaction of setting yourself a goal or wanting to do something and achieving it.
Yeah,
I want to build that 350Z from Dory Fest. You did it. I want it to look like this. Well, God's sakes, it looks exactly like you wanted.
Yeah, exactly.
And then I want to drive it hard all weekend with my mates and have a blast.
Yeah.
And you did it.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
I jumped in with you and other people did, and we had a hell of a time. And at the end of that, the satisfaction from that is
huge.
Yeah.
And what I would also say is on the lead up to it, I was stressed about, we're going to get it painted in time. What parts do I need? Have I got enough money to pay for this ridiculous weekend away again? Because I've had to build a car in the meantime.
And all these things.
And then I got there and I did the first run and I was like, I could not give two shits. This is brilliant. I'm having a great time. And all the woes disappear for a while and you have a lovely weekend. Yep. And I mean, granted, it did help that the car worked all weekend.
Yeah.
But actually, on the other side of that, I had a year out of, I mean, I know we keep talking about Dory Fest, but
they're the sort of Dory cast.
Dory. They're the events that we've done lately. Certainly I've done.
Certainly events you've done.
Yeah, they are. I've done a couple at Norfolk, but nothing worth talking about.
Yeah.
Not as they were the main big events. I had a year out in the middle because I sold the Skyline and I hadn't built the 350 yet, or I hadn't decided what I was doing, but I hadn't built the 350 yet. Oh no, I hadn't sold it. I still had the Skyline, but I wasn't using it anyway.
Yeah.
And I came to the event with you, and I would argue that I had probably 90% of the fun for about 1% of the price.
Fraction of the cost.
Because I was living vicariously through you with helping you run your car and being out on track. And I've done drift days on my own. I know you've done drift days on your own.
Multiple.
And they're not as good. Not even slightly as good.
No.
Unless you meet up with a group of your mates when you're there.
But then on the flip side of that, I've been to drift events and been completely on my own and don't know anyone and don't know like the track and don't know anything. And I've met some really cool people and made some good friends.
John McLaren.
McLaren.
Silver S15.
Yeah.
Irishman.
Yeah. I went to Matsuri for the first time and
It was the first time when this was red in our bed, wasn't it?
Yeah, and didn't have a clue. And some 4 Irish guys come over and were like, oh, that's a cool car. And then got chatting to him and been friends since.
Yeah.
So like, we wouldn't be friends if we weren't for drifting.
No, well, I mean, we went to college together, but we didn't.
Yeah, but
we didn't massively get on that well actually at college, did we? We sort of knew each other, but
didn't really speak that much.
We're nowhere near as friendly as we obviously are now.
No, well, we were in. Although we went to college together or sixth form together, we did different subjects.
Yeah.
So we sort of crossed paths, but we never
knew of each other.
Yeah, we never really actually were together.
No.
And you sort of had your friends and I had mine. But through drifting, we'd been friends ever since.
I'll be honest, like 90% of my good mates and close friends are because of drifting. Ed, I wouldn't know Ed.
Yeah.
I literally met Ed at a drift day, and then met Ed at another drift day, and then another one, and then was like, I like this guy. He's reckless. He's my kind of guy. I get on with him, and then now he's a good mate, very good mate of mine. And to be fair, all the people we've spoken about so far, we only obviously know them through the sport. A lot of them are people I would consider friends. The people I would feel that you could phone and go, I'm in your area and I have lost the wheel off my trailer. Help me. And they would.
Most would. Yeah.
But
I wouldn't be friends with people in Exeter and Kent and
all
Scotland
over the country,
and Ireland, and if it wasn't for drifting, because you all come together. I mean, that's quite unusual.
Definitely.
I would say.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, yeah, absolutely. It's not like I say, even with the world of social media, you still wouldn't know these people. You wouldn't.
No. You might follow them on Instagram and like their videos of them drifting or whatever, but you wouldn't necessarily, you wouldn't see them in the street and speak to them.
No.
But half of the people, most of the people that I go drifting with, I'd go, oh hey, Eric, hey, whatever, and have a chat with them.
Yeah, and you have something to talk about.
Yeah, of course you would.
Even if it's not drifting, it's you still have something in common with them because they're all going through similar things that we are. But yeah, I know certainly, getting back to what we were saying, that kind of clarity that I feel when I'm driving is something that I'm a huge fan of.
Yeah, and I've been very fortunate to do a lot of things. I've done all the sports you can think about. The standard.
I've done less sport.
Really?
Quite a lot less sport. Yeah, I know.
Did a lot of rugby.
That's.
Weren't a fly off.
No, I wasn't. Funny enough, I was front row. But I've done a lot less sport. So.
Less sport. I haven't done basketball, but I've done pretty much everything else. And like, I used to go fishing quite a bit. And you'd go fishing, you'd set yourself up and you're busy and everything's good. And then you sit there and then the thoughts will come back. And then
that's not a good place to
And
be.
then you
That's
go
too
in
much
through,
time in my own head.
Oh man, did I email that guy back? Oh, did I ring that guy? Oh, did I order that? Oh, And then before you know it, you've spent 2 hours procrastinating on work. When
and caught no fish.
And caught no fish. Because you feel all you're doing is thinking about work. And I've done that playing cricket, playing football, doing anything else. I'm like, I don't know if I'd lock the back door. And then like you just spiral.
I suppose
I've never been on a drift day and thought about loads of other things.
Yeah.
I only really think about drifting or having a laugh with Jake or having a laugh with you or Ed or whatever.
You never sat there at the side of the lake thinking, I wonder if I could throw this in a backy.
Yeah. What if I could backy that rod?
How can I transition this rod a bit harder?
Never. No.
And again, that comes back to both the kind of freedom of it, but also the technique of it as well.
But you can't really express yourself in fishing.
No, just fucking pull that rod that bit harder. Yeah.
There's a technique to it. There's a skill to it.
Oh, of course.
There's a lot of casting a long distance takes
I
a lot
am
of skill.
completely ignorant to fishing, but effectively it's put a hook by a fish and hope it bites it, isn't it?
It's a bit more complicated than that, but yeah, it is.
If you boil it down to the bare essentials, it's not up to you whether that fish really bites it or not.
Pretty much. But there's another thing, like I know Marcus Clare of S15 Lariness
And 32.
and 32
And about 10 other drift cars.
and Ames. I know Marcus does a lot of like motocrossy stuff, and so does Dan Joyce and a few
Dan
other
Joyce,
people. I did a bit of that, but like that's physically quite difficult.
I've ridden a motocross bike once and I thought my arms are going to come off.
Yeah, you can't do that.
And I also look ridiculous.
It's a big bike.
It wasn't that big of a bike.
You can't like do it that much. So for the 20 minutes or half an hour that you're riding, or hour that you're riding, fine.
And if you get it slightly wrong, you snap your collarbone.
There is that. But whilst you're doing it, it's fine. But you come off and you're sat there, like you pressure wash your bike down or whatever, and then you just sat there.
Yeah.
But what you
Yeah,
do,
you can't do it all
you might
day.
go and watch, you might go and chat to someone, but that's it, it's over. Whereas drifting, it's constant throughout a day or a weekend. When
Yeah.
we're at Silverstone, it is mental. You've got meet and greets, you've got all this other stuff going on. And from 9 till 6, you are flat out pretty much with something to do or drifting or both. But you get absorbed by it and you're in the moment
And
for the
sometimes
whole
that's
day.
therapy in itself.
100%.
You don't switch off, you just switch over, I suppose, and you don't. But you
Yeah.
switch off to all the things that you've been stressed about for ages.
Yeah, I mean, you remember them the next morning.
Yeah, you do. Yeah. And then you look at how much you spent. You go, oh god, I've got
Yeah.
new ones.
Yeah, then the accountant goes, "Why have you ordered all these tyres?" I'm like, "Oh."
Don't worry about that. Don't worry about that.
But yeah, whilst you're in the moment, it's fantastic, and I feel like drifting, that moment is like prolonged, like a junkie.
Yeah.
Like it's like you're taking multiple hits throughout a day, but it's constantly satisfying you throughout that day or weekend. Whereas other things, you might play golf. I play a bit of golf. That's 2 or 3 or 4 hours of whatever, and that's fine. But whilst you're wandering around the course, you're not really 100% focused on it.
No.
You might be having a laugh with your mate, but you're not really focused on what you're doing. Because fundamentally, you're walking up, hit a ball. Walk up, hit a ball
a bit further.
Like you're not absorbed by it like you are when you're throwing a car in backwards at 120 mile an hour.
I do wonder if some of that is us.
Are we wide right?
If we've got the special sort of ADHD that means that
Oh, 100%.
we need something that switches us off.
Yeah.
Because obviously every sport has people that are passionate about it, and I'm sure there are people that wander around the golf course and think nothing but about that.
Yeah, I like golf. I really like golf, but I couldn't. If you gave me a ultimatum, you can go drifting once or twice a year or golf every month. I'll go drifting, thanks.
Yeah, yeah.
Like it's not even a
A
question.
thought.
Yeah.
No, absolutely. Another thing I like about it of drifting as well is I've had as much fun in a workshop with my mates building a car to go drifting. I've had probably 95%. Well,
I don't know. When you stood in that car and there was no floor left.
Yeah, that wasn't.
That wasn't fun.
But when I'm not building my car, if I'm helping someone else build their car,
when someone else is
when I'm building your car,
Right.
I've had it all with other people's. You have as much fun. Oh, I certainly have as much fun with friends in units that I've met through drifting, building silly cars, and both banging your heads together and going, "How can we do this then?" And thinking about a different way to do a cage, or another way of tackling a problem. As I have had at track, and the same as when I've attended drift days, like I say, without cars. I did years of BDC and going to events and watching, granted whilst drifting, but I wasn't drifting at those tracks. And I've had as much fun at events watching as I have driving at times.
I think that depends on the individual. I
think
know
it does, yeah.
Jake
I know
Cast.
some people that can't watch a drift day.
No, Jake Cast, he doesn't want to watch. Like, if you said to Jake, we're going to Riga, do you want to come? Absolutely not.
I can't wait to go to Riga.
I'd rather do, me too. I'd rather do roundabouts outside Tunbridge Wells. Like
He's good at them though.
He is good at them. But he does not want to do it because he's all about driving, and everything he does, all the work he does, pretty much the business he set up, is all to assist him in earning money and helping him drive more. That's all it. But everyone's different. You have a technical brain, and you like the tinkering and the adjusting and the thinking and the. Me personally, I don't mind sparring a bit on the car, but I don't enjoy it.
No.
I do it because I can't afford to pay someone else to do it.
Yeah, same.
and I know how I want it done. So I just do it myself, and then that allows me to go and do the event.
Well, I suppose that's why we're all different. But I know certainly I do like that aspect of it, and I like building. I almost like building cars as much as I like driving them, which I don't. I know quite a few people don't feel like that. But that kind of problem solving aspect.
Yeah, some do, some don't. It depends on your mentality. And as I said earlier, there's certainly a big dopamine reward of, I took this heap of shit, R32, 350Z, whatever.
They do need to buy better base cars.
Yeah, and I made that.
Yeah.
And there's that for you is almost as satisfying, if not more satisfying.
I do enjoy the deep dive on the internet going, I like that one. What's that roof spoiler? Where's that come from? Where do I find that part? And then,
but you're proper geeky when it comes to all the specs, and I read up about this gearbox and that engine and this and that. I'm like, will it work?
Yeah, does it go first, second, third? That's all I needed to do.
Yeah, so we're very different in that aspect, and I think everyone else is too. But again, you can satisfy that itch as you want to.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, absolutely.
Depending on your budget.
Yeah, I can't satisfy that nearly as much as I'd like to.
No, and my budget would be a lot better if you didn't get involved so much.
Yeah, you'd have way better golf bats.
Yeah, I'd have way better golf bats. I think, joking aside, I think my golf bats I bought when I was 16. So they're old now.
Because it's all in here.
But it's all in here. I could spend 300 quid on golf bats, or I could buy a few pairs of tyres.
Yeah.
I'll buy a few pairs of tyres.
I know which one I'd rather do. So what part of... no, not what part of drifting. What do you think on... what do you think about competitive drifting? What do you see that in terms of an aspiration? Is it something you'd aspire to? Is it something you look at and think, that looks sick, but I don't want to do that? Or is it something that you think, that looks sick, I'd love to one day line up next to Laurie Heinen and scare the shit out of
My personality isn't suited to competition driving.
No?
I don't think so, because I think there's a couple of issues. One, I'm super competitive. Yeah. So like, I'll be like, right, I need a Winters, I need a Soup sequential, I need 52 Westlakes.
That's not your personality that's not linked to it, that's your bank account that's not ready for it.
And some severe autism. So I'll be like, right, I'm one of these people that like, if you're doing it, you're doing it. Yeah. Like you know, no half measures.
Do it
like,
right, do it once.
Like Silverstone. Yeah. I am going to do backwards entries and blow the doors off my car.
Shit.
Yeah. I'm not going to just drive around. And Sweep's just
like, make up the numbers.
Sweep's just like, look, you don't have to go mental first run. Just do a sighting lap. Alexa, Matt's missus, was like, do a backy first run. I was like, yeah. So that's what we did. And much to the disappointment of my missus, who said, take it easy. I can't do it. Like, I'm all in. So I think with competition, that would be a problem for me financially, because
I think it's a problem for everyone financially.
Because I'd be all in. I think the other issue is as well for me, and this is only for me, and I'll give you my opinion on competitions, but for me personally, I do drifting to escape from the stress of life, owning a business, particularly the car industry, which is difficult, stressful, and I go drifting to get rid of all that. I don't want more stress. Yeah. I think I remember the Slip Wheel boys. I don't know if anyone will know who Slip Wheel is. I'm sure some of you guys will.
Tom and Perry.
Tom and Perry. So Tom and Perry were everywhere and then nowhere. Yeah. So Tom and Perry used to do all the Rockingham days. They were doing YouTube. Things were going quite well. Yeah. They were building a following. They had a PS13 and an S14, both low, both on big split wheels, both drove quite well. Like, good guys. And then all of a sudden, gone.
Sold up.
Absolutely, like, just disappeared. And I think
Perry literally disappeared. He lost about 10 stone.
Yeah, he did.
Literally,
But afterwards, he said online that he was finding, like, he had quite a lot of anxiety and, mental things going on, bless him. But he was open enough to say, look, drifting was making all my anxiety way worse, my stress way worse, my bank balance way worse, and the whole thing was having this, although I loved doing it, it was having this huge negative impact on my mental health. And I think if I did, it's getting deep, isn't it? If I did...
It's true though, it really is part of this.
Yeah. If I did competition, I think the fun, let's do a 360, let's do this, let's do that, would filter down to me being so stressed, so tense, so nervous, I'd drive crap and I wouldn't enjoy it. So for me, competition, for my personality, I don't think suits.
No.
I'm a throw down with the boys,
Yeah.
who can do the biggest backy, who can do a 360 entry, that sort of like get passengers in, let's have a good time. I'm not a comp driver. Part of me would love to give it a go just to see how I did.
I'd love to see you have a go.
To see how I did.
I would encourage you to have a go at a low stakes kind of competition. The problem is there used to be loads and we don't have as many anymore. But
the thing is, if it went well, I know what I'm like. If it went well, if I came, let's say, top 5, I'd be like, right, when's the next one? And then,
you can't just have a sip, we've got to have 10 pints.
Exactly. If I came top 5 again, I'd be like, right, well, I'm in the championship now, so I've got to do the next one.
Yeah.
And then before
and then
I know
blow
it,
a gearbox. And you're like,
I've got to have a gearbox. Oh, I need a sequential because everyone else has got sequentials. And then at the end of the year, I've won nothing.
You've got fuck all done at work.
I've got nothing done at work. I'm 20 grand in a hole. And I'm miserable again.
I could see that happening real fast.
That's my problem. Now, if I could just dabble with competition, I'd like to. But the problem is I don't think I've got the mindset to dabble. The other problem I have with competitions, this is less me, more competitions. I don't like the way they're judged. And I don't, to anyone that is a judge, I'm sorry.
It's not a job I'd ever want to do.
No, me neither. And this is a very subjective matter because everyone sees...
The sport is a very subjective matter in the world of competition, isn't it?
It is. But let's take a Naoki Nakamura and a James Dean. Both are fantastic drivers. Both are very different. Naoki will come out and absolutely throw caution to the wind. He'll be backwards here. He'll be getting balls out there. He'll be one of the fastest guys on track. He'll be an animal. But he'll push too hard and he'll drop a wheel.
Yeah.
So Naoki gets 50 out of 100 because he dropped a wheel. But the run looked mental.
Yeah.
James Dean, run 1, comes out, places the car, full zone, places the car, full zone, places the car, full zone, 90.
Yeah.
Everyone's gone, oh, that was cool. But everyone remembers the Naoki run.
Yeah.
But Naoki got 50 points. James got 90. So with judging, for me, there's not enough emphasis on style and too much on technical.
Yeah.
So you can be slow, for example, and not flamboyant, but you get 80.
Yeah.
Or you can be fast, flamboyant, crazy to watch, but you get 75.
Yeah.
Because you dropped a wheel that far over a line.
Yeah.
And I hate that about competitions. I would much rather they market 40 points on style, 20 on line, 20 on everything else, versus splitting it, because it rewards people for being precise, which is good, don't get me wrong, but from a spectator and from me personally, I don't want to see precise. I want to see in the zone, as fast, as wild, as backwards, as crazy as possible. I don't want to see, oh, well, he got 22 centimetres out of that zone. And that, for me, is a shame of drifting. That depends on the series.
Yeah.
In Japan, they're much more lenient. In
They have
Europe,
a
they're
very, very different way of judging, though, don't they?
Very,
they have
very
the DOS system, so it's kind of data-based.
correct. And part of me thinks, well, that might be interesting to see that rolled out elsewhere. But then, like, you look at your Formula Drifts. Formula Drift is very much about you have to be here, you have to be here, you have to be there for this amount of time. You can't decel here, you can't accelerate here. And I get it because it makes it easy to chase and makes it better. But from a spectator point of view, particularly for qualifying, I mean, not so much for the competition, but particularly for qualifying, I find it boring.
Yeah.
If I'm totally honest with you, I find competition qualifying boring because you've got everyone going out, trying to fill a zone without overdoing it at a reasonable pace so people don't think they're slow, but not going so fast that they're going to make a mistake and just getting a point on the board, getting a score on the board. Run 2, they might go a bit more leery, but it's that point, it's like, well, you've done the job now, so it's not high stakes.
No.
That's very easy to say, sat in a unit in Norfolk when I haven't done a competition ever, other than the drift kicking stuff with Silverstone, but that's a bit different. It's very, very easy for me to say that. So it's not really necessarily fair for me to be that harsh, but that's my opinion on competitions. My personality, probably not the best for two competitions. My car certainly isn't really up to it standards-wise. Certainly not by today's standards.
No.
Maybe 5 years ago, 10 years ago, but not now. And like I say, actual competition stuff, I enjoy the battles generally, but the rest of it, I don't really like how it's judged, and I don't particularly enjoy qualifying on the whole.
No. Interesting.
What's your thoughts?
So, I come, like we said, about building cars as well. I'm a pretty dire tragic for the sport of drifting. So, I do enjoy qualifying, and I do enjoy that technical aspect of it.
Sado.
I definitely would say the series I prefer. I've tried to watch D1. I don't understand it. It doesn't translate, not linguistically, but
mean
the style of their judging and the
stuff,
way of scoring doesn't make sense to me.
No,
to watch.
I have watched it a few times and been like, well, how did he win?
Yeah, because they do there's a lot of emphasis on their rate to angle and how quickly they snap the car, which is a really cool element to contribute into the sport, but they weigh heavily on their scoring into that. So someone can run a real sort of triangular line, but they'll score really high, whereas in European drifting and American drifting, a fluid line would score you higher. So I think that part of that is because I come from obviously European drifting.
Yeah.
So and so I'm not used to it.
Yeah.
But the cars are impressive over there, obviously, and they're all running 19s now, which is weird. Like they're going big wheels.
I think one of them, one of the GRs is on like 20s.
Yeah, huge wheels. Strange. But either way, they run very soft tyres over there as well. Not as soft as over in Europe, but they do run very soft tyres on their car.
I thought they were the same Valinos, but they're not.
They might be now, yeah. They have always had, until Valino, they've always had softer compounds than sort of Europe and America has run.
Yeah.
America, I find interesting. So Formula Drift. If we're going to talk about the main three series in the world, or the main series in the world, I would say D1, FD in America, but also FD Japan.
Yeah.
They do FD Japan, Drift Masters.
Yeah.
And you could argue RDS, but we don't like talking about Russia anymore because they're a bit fighty.
Russia are a bit bomby.
So we don't talk about Russia anymore because they're a bit scary. But they're the predominant main series in the world. 4 if you count FD as America and FD Japan, because they're technically separate series.
Yeah.
Again, FD Japan, it's obviously scored more American style, but again, a little odd for my taste. FD itself in America, I think, is a really interesting series to watch because of the marketing side of it.
It's very commercial.
Everything is a sales pitch.
Yeah.
It's the BC Racing replay
with
the fast orange pit talk and the whatever start line. Like it's all an
GT
advert.
radio, bog brush.
GT
radio.
Yeah,
it's a bit much.
Nitto poo paper and
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah,
it's all very odd. To the European side of it, or certainly for the British, that's all a bit too.
We're much more aloof than that.
It's
It's very.
we can't be asking for money. We can't be selling things.
Yeah.
We must make money in secret.
Yes.
we can't openly make money. That's against the grain.
What do you mean it's all sponsored?
So certainly I find that aspect of it a little bit tedious. I think their judging is creative at times. I certainly,
There's been some calls recently.
There's been some odd calls that I find baffling. I don't believe it's scripted, like everyone seems to think that there's a favourite in the sport. I don't think that's the case. I think the issue with all series, and I think this is a massive issue with competition drifting, is we're not in the driver's briefing. All the series try and give you a pitch at the start of the event, but most people don't listen to that bit because they're going to get a beer and they're wandering around the pits if they're at the event. So all the minutiae of the sport doesn't translate very well to the general spectator.
Correct.
So if you're sitting there with the boys 10 beers deep and you go, why has he not won? And it's because he's dropped one wheel over a white line somewhere that no one knew had any relevance because it was in the middle of the track and didn't really know what it was for. If that's not been translated, then it doesn't. That's where those calls start to come in, where people are like, I don't understand how he lost, because you weren't in the briefing, so you didn't hear every minor detail of the circuit. So I think that, and I think that FD has a big issue with that. And I think that's why some of their calls have really seemed odd, especially this season. There's been some very against the grain calls for the average spectator because they haven't. Formula Drift as a series hasn't passed that information over to the average spectator. So that's interesting. I think the cars are interesting over there because they are a little bit more creative.
What I like about their cars more than the European cars is the fact that they've got a crap tyre compared to the European cars, and therefore they have to do so much trick stuff with the car.
It's mechanical grip.
Yeah, and the engineering underneath the car is so much more
and
creative.
I guess also, like we said, with the commercial side of things, the commercial side means they have budget. So most of the cars on grid are relatively new chassis. Some are brand new chassis. So, and they are at the forefront of developing those cars, which a lot of them now, like, the Supras are all running B58s now, so they are running the engine that came in the Supra. It's not just swap the engine to make the car work. There's development and OEM support, which is really interesting to see, because that effectively trickles down into the sport. Look at what RTR have done with the Ford. They've now gone to the point where you can buy what is effectively a drift team's car from the main dealer, making 800 horsepower with a 3-year warranty, with a drift mode in it and a proper electric handbrake. Yeah, so it's very interesting to see the commercial side of it and how that trickles down. But my love by far is with Drift Masters. I think personally it's the pinnacle series, both in the way it's judged. I would say the way it's judged is outwardly the most fair and what you would expect the calls to be at times.
There's not many calls I've gone, what?
No. And if there is, they are really good. If they know it's a interesting call, they're very good at getting the judges to explain why that's the call.
They are.
You may not agree with it at times, but on the whole, they are very open with their judging and why they've decided what they've decided.
Yes.
I think the idea of bringing the best from all over Europe, because it is Drift Masters, they should be the best of the best. So, okay, you can petition to enter. I think that's a very hard petition. I think Dave Egan is proof of that. He's had to do a lot of work before he's been able to just stroll into the series. He's not been gifted to him.
He's built the series.
With
help of obviously a lot of people.
He's helped to develop the series, but he is one of the few that hasn't strolled in with a championship title to his name. A majority of that grid, it may be only in their country, but that is the idea of it. They are championship contenders within their own country.
It is the best of Europe together.
Yeah, absolutely. And now beginning to be the best in the world.
Yeah.
It is becoming the sort of F1 of drifting.
Interesting that a couple of Americans, or an American and a Canadian, came last year and haven't come back.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's because they're out of their depth, or...
I think out of their depth, also, those two drivers are both people that are hugely commercialised in America. But finding a sponsor in America that is willing to spend their money in Europe effectively, I would argue is not easy.
The telltale sign for what series is best for me is you have multiple Drift Masters champions or top 10 drivers go to other series and win those series. And not just win them once, win them multiple times. I mean, obviously James Dean's obvious, but you've got your Peter Viceks, Vicek, you've got your Connor Shanahans, your Jack Shanahans. Okay, granted, he's not done mega well yet, but still he's turned up and is in the fight with pretty much everyone. I would argue
Jack is one of my favourite competition drivers to watch.
I would agree. But I bet if you put Dwayne McKeever in FD, he would be one of the top 10 drivers instantly. And within a few years, he'd be top 5, if not championship contender. Now, if you took any of the top 5 American or FD drivers, and maybe not Hiro Minoa, but everyone else, and put them into Drift Masters,
they'd struggle.
They might qualify.
Yeah. I think a lot of that is down to the tyre. We are spoilt in Europe with a ridiculously sticky tyre.
True, but...
And I think that level of speed increase in the cars is what throws the drivers off that come over. Adam reckons that his car on Velino, 285 Velinos, was about 40% faster than his FD car on 315 40s.
But I think even if you shipped 5 containers worth of 285 Velinos out to America and said, right,
Practice.
practice through the winter, we'll see you in spring. I still don't think, I think it might be closer, but I still don't think they'd come over and beat James Dean, Peter Vicek, Dwayne McKeever, Connor Shanahan, Laurie Heinehan, Jack Shanahan.
Yeah.
I don't think they'd beat any of those people.
No.
Even Falvey and people like that, I don't think they beat them.
No.
I don't think they would.
Disagree.
Even in the same machine, on the same tyres, on the same day, I still don't think they beat them.
No, and I don't disagree. That's why I think it's the pinnacle series.
That might be because they're at a disadvantage because they've grown up with, or not grown up, they've learned drifting their trade on this tyre.
Yeah, in a different manner.
But until the last 3 years, no one used Velinos.
No.
No one used Velinos. When James Dean won, when Peter Vicek won in FD in America, they weren't on Velinos.
No. James was actually on Falcons, the same thing he was running in America.
Precisely.
So,
and still beat everyone.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's the tyre. I agree that driving week in, week out on a Nitto 315 and then jumping onto a Velino 285 in Europe is a wild difference.
Yeah, definitely.
Completely agree. And yes, that's going to take a hell of a lot getting used to. Because like driving this with at Matsuri with 15 psi and 700 horsepower, shit happens a lot quicker.
Let alone with another probably 30-40% grip.
Precisely.
And another 300 horsepower.
Exactly. So I can...
And probably another 300 kilos out of the car as well.
I can completely understand the wild difference that it's going to be because I've kind of experienced something with this, but I still don't think talent-wise you're going to beat any of the American FD drivers or any of the FD drivers really going to come over to Europe and beat anyone of significance. No. Unless there's a technical issue or something like that.
I'd love to see Chelsea Deneuve come and have a go, but I don't know whether he can budget it enough to make it work financially for him. But I'd love to see how he stacked up.
But how many years did he do FD?
A lot of years, probably 10
And how many
years.
times did he come top 3?
Well, I wouldn't be able to honestly answer that, but I know he only won one championship, so...
But you see what I'm trying to say.
Absolutely.
Like, don't get me wrong, fantastic driver.
Yeah.
But I don't think he's got it on your European drivers.
No.
I don't. The other side of it is your Japanese guys and some of the Australians, like your Luke Finks.
Yeah. Oh,
I'd like
driver
to see.
I would put up there as
I'd
one
like
of
to
the
see Luke
best
Fink
in the world.
Yeah, I think Luke Fink is really underrated, and I think actually he's one of the best.
I'd love to see him have a proper drive in a proper team and be let loose to drive how he wants to in a car that without changing cars every frigging event.
Here's a 1,000 horsepower car. We've got 3 engines. Don't worry.
Yeah.
We've got 3 gearboxes.
Yeah, we've bought
and
3
we've got
of
a
everything.
container full of 285 Velinos.
Hold on.
Go.
Watch this.
Yeah. I think he would be up there certainly, but I don't see that the American guys would be up there.
No, and I think again, part of going back to the Drift Masters as a series, I think another part of what makes that series so special is there is no half-assed track.
Oh no,
they're all incredibly technical. They might be very technical for different reasons, but they're all high risk, very technical tracks that do not lend themselves to mistakes very well.
No, as James Dean and Peter Vicek found out last weekend when
as many people found out last
Peter's €250,000 car got absolutely written off, literally written off.
Yeah, and I think the European series have always been a little bit more dicey. I feel like HSE stepped in a bit later compared to the American series.
And Japan. There's been some horrific accidents.
There's been some huge... Again, they were also very high speed over there.
High speeds, high risk, walls.
And a dash dodger.
Yeah, a dash dodger.
And a dash dodger.
And some Crocs.
Yeah. And some hopes and dreams.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that aspect of Drift Masters makes it spectacular. The circuits are unreal. And also the backing of Red Bull. To have someone like Red Bull...
And Worthhouse.
And Budmat. People spend... That series has had proper money spent on it.
Yeah.
That series, I don't know. I'm not involved in it. But that series feels like it's had someone go, and what would you like to try? Okay, and how much will that cost? Okay.
Not even that. Okay, here's a check.
Yeah. Here's a blank check.
Yeah.
Go crack on.
You want live stream? Sold.
Yeah.
You want this?
And I think
yes.
that level of professionalism that the whole series has is very endearing. And the cars over there are wild. Like, we've got a 900 horsepower diesel C-Class estate competing with, like you said, a NASCAR powered S13 and a VW Golf powered BMW M2. Like,
which is still 900 horsepower.
Which is still 900 horsepower, yeah. And all of them, are 900 to 1,000 horsepower.
Yeah.
I think Jack Shanahan in his latest vlog was saying that they made 960-ish horsepower on their new setup for this year, and he said, we're a bit underpowered. We're a bit down on power for this.
It's madness.
Looking forward to getting the car back to Ireland, getting the next size turbo on it so we can make a bit more power. Like, if you're at nearly 4 digits and you think, not quite got enough here.
The thing is, 4 digits and on a tyre that's basically glue.
You're basically super glue, and the car can weigh 1,000 kilos.
Yeah.
Like, it is I think it's the most extreme version of the competition of drifting that we are.
I do hope though that James Dean doesn't run away with it in the RTR.
He is incredible, so it wouldn't shock me. There was a serious promise in the opening event for the season.
Yeah.
And I cannot wait. We're going to Riga to watch, and I'm very excited about it. And I can't wait to sit in that grandstand and hear that RTR come through the woods.
And Heinehans.
I'm not a V8 man, but I like those ones.
They do sound wow. They do sound wild.
But yeah, that's certainly very exciting. A very exciting series to watch.
Yeah, I'd agree. I mean, obviously, hopefully our passion comes across, but I'm sure it does. We are biased. We are in Europe.
Well, yeah.
We can't.
Yeah, exactly.
We don't live in America. We don't live in Japan.
Japan.
Exactly. So it's not
pop to America and watch FD.
No, and also we're poor, so we can't fly to Japan and fly to America just to go and watch it. But I can't help but agree with everything you just said. And as I said, personally, I feel that the best drivers are in Europe.
I think so too. I think we're very lucky.
There's probably some Japanese drivers that I'm doing no justice to, and they're probably very, 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 very good.
I think throughout the sport, there is, in the world, I mean by this as well, there's a lot of people like yourself that are incredibly talented drivers that don't dip their toe in competition, and thus you don't really see them.
Well, I appreciate your compliment.
Yeah, but like there is Luke Fink does dabble in competition. Julian Jacobs.
Think Luke Fink is the example of that.
Yeah,
he's done everything. He's brilliant in any car. You can put him in anything and he'll go and put a 90-point qualifying run in.
You'll figure it out.
Yeah, within a lap.
Yeah.
And yet, still, no one's gone, here's 100 grand, here's a car.
I think part of that is because he's a little bit outspoken and people don't like that.
Yeah.
From a commercial point of view.
Nakamura.
Yeah.
Nakamura's been banned from FD. He's been arrested and put in prison in Japan. Like,
a bit of spice, don't we?
He is not a commercial sure bet.
No,
but
I suppose so.
Everyone goes, this dude is wild.
Yeah.
We have to put some money in. And they do.
But yeah, like we were saying, there's a lot of people like that. But like
Julian Jacobs is a good example.
Casey.
Yeah. Julian in that S15 that Matt, I'm not a huge Matt Field fan, but the Matt Field's S15 with the V8 and Julian got it and just put B-knuckle on it. And just went to
hold my beer, watch this.
AVS, Apple Valley Speedway, and
flung it into the scenery.
Yeah, and has done that for the last 12 months. He's had that car, and has been driving the nuts off it.
Yeah, absolutely.
In a 1,000 horsepower V8 supercharged S15 with B knuckle, he has.
But also did the same thing in a standard 350 with a welded diff and
a PS with like some compression.
Yeah,
like
an amount of compression. Yeah, but not nearly the amount it should have.
But he did used to do FD back in the day.
He did years and years ago.
Yeah.
Nothing like what I would call like professional drifting these days.
No.
That was much closer to what you do.
Have you ever watched Spec 2 Formula Drift?
I have, and I didn't enjoy myself.
Yes. Yeah, I mean...
My biggest issue with American drifting is the commentary.
It's a bit much.
I struggle. I do like Jacob, who is now also the Driftmasters
He's very good.
commentator.
Yeah, very good. He also does a fellow podcast.
He does.
He's a competitor, actually.
He's also quite a lot better at it than we are.
Yeah, and a lot of people following.
Yeah. But I like him because he's very nerdy and technical. That's a bit of me. But the old doctor and here we go and Mr. Deander, I'm sure you're very good at your job, but you're not my cup of tea. I'm a bit too British for that.
He does his research as well, and he knows. Like at Spain Drift Masters last weekend. Was it last weekend?
Yeah.
He knew every driver.
Weekend before.
Yeah, he knew every driver. He knew he'd been speaking to him in the pits. He knew about this. He'd had breakfast with this guy, dinner with that guy, and he knew he'd gone out of his way to make sure that he knew what he was on about.
And to be fair, I'm a nerd, so I've watched every driver that I follow's vlog from Spain, and you see him in the background because he always wears that teal beanie. Yeah. You see him in the background when they're talking to camera in the pits. He'll just wander through back of shot on. You see him with a different team constantly. So, and I think he truly is about that life. Like he loves it. Super passionate about it.
Yeah.
And that then comes across in the sport,
which is probably why he's been offered the opportunity in
Drift Masters as well. Yeah. And as my nerdy side of things, I appreciate that in a commentator. I don't want just the top level. I'd like to know why Dwayne McGeever's not made qualifying.
Yes,
because he dropped a valve and.
Why has he dropped the valve? And,
and I enjoy that depth. No, it's not for everyone, and it's a skill to be able to balance that depth of knowledge, but also keep it informal enough that the average new spectator is also enjoying it, and not lost.
Yeah.
So that certainly is a bit of me, but there is. I think it's a stark reminder that drifting is still very much alive and thriving as well. Like, the expansion of the sport, the expansion of the series at top level is still growing. There's no pullback yet.
Yeah, I mean, we spoke about what's going on in UK drifting in the last podcast, and we decided that actually it's quite a lot. Yeah. But when you compare the UK drifting to the world drifting, oh my God, it's...
On the world stage, it's ever expanding. America is expanding at a hell of a rate.
And like the R&D and the technology and the big companies jumping on board, like your RTRs and people like that. And like works teams, you've got Toyota Gazoo Racing.
Yeah.
You've got
multiple series.
Yeah, you've got works teams. I mean,
works Ford teams now in America and Europe.
Exactly. Which then puts it more on the level of like World Rally.
Yeah.
More than...
Well, World Rally has got Toyota, Hyundai, maybe Skoda, but I don't think so anymore.
I don't know.
Ford. I think there is 3 teams in WRC, which is the highest level of rallying in the world.
And I would say, motorsports-wise, I didn't speak about it earlier, but I would say rallying is probably the only other motorsport that I would say competes for me. Rallying, rallycross, that competes with drifting.
Because the fact that it's
wild. It's 10 minutes of, you have point A, point B, cliffs, trees,
and your mate in the passenger seat shouting random things at you.
A boulder, an Irish guy who's going to shout at you in gibberish, and you have to go as fast as you possibly can, dip a wheel, run a barrier, clip a tree, whatever you can.
Barrel roll into the scenery and back it back out.
If you roll it, carry on.
40 men armed with beer and a rope will drag you back onto the road and send you on the way.
I mean, it's not like it used to be where they're all on the track, way as they come past. Yeah. But even still, they're bloody close, and they're waving them through. And for me, World Rally is probably the only comparable to drifting.
And that's certainly where my motorsport love came from. Yeah. With my dad I'm from Wales originally, believe it or not, and my dad was into rallying growing up and followed rallies around and all sorts. So.
And I think you'll find all the Irish boys that are very good at drifting
are very good at rallying.
And have either done rallying or families doing rallying, or families have done rallying.
James Dean.
So I think the two coincide really closely. Yeah. Callie Rovanpera.
Yeah, Callie Rovanpera, yeah.
So
world youngest rally champion in the world, and came to Drift Masters last year and did not embarrass himself. Not one bit.
I mean,
it did come with a proper car and factory backing.
Yeah,
but did well.
Didn't do it by halves, as I discussed earlier.
Didn't win though.
Didn't win.
Obviously, the sports translate differently. Like you can't expect just because you can drive a rally car that you're going to be perfect at line driving in a drift car. But
well, you're throwing a rally car around a loose stage at high speed. That's very different to throwing a gripped up drift car around a tarmac track.
But he was competitive.
He was.
And he was fast.
He did not look like he was not a
He
drifter.
didn't look out of place.
No.
No,
He didn't look like a world rally car driver that had been chucked into drifting.
No.
He looked like a drifter.
Yeah.
Which is the biggest compliment, I suppose, you can give someone like that.
absolutely, yeah.
And he looked like he might not win, but he looked like he would be up there.
Yeah, and he was.
And he was.
He was. I think he's obviously got other commitments this year, but yeah, he was fantastic to watch. And to bring a name like that into our sport says a lot as well, because he's at the pinnacle of his motorsport, which is a world-recognised, world-renowned motorsport that everyone would.
The peak of world rally.
Yeah, and to then stroll over to our little pokey sport and have a go, and that's
It's like the Max Verstappen of rallying.
Yeah, bowling in and going, let's have a crack
I'll
at
have a go
this
at drifting.
one." Yeah, let's see what this is about.
Yeah. Oh, this is quite good fun.
Yeah.
Give me a 900 horsepower Supra and let me at it.
Yeah, watch this.
Yeah. It's a credit to Drift Masters that he wants to go and do that, and that they accommodated it and supported him, and he did a bloody good job.
Yeah, it did. Yeah, fantastic.
And it was interesting to watch.
Yeah, definitely. But what I also will circle back in a big way here. What else do you like about drifting? After we said all of this about competition,
However long is this podcast going to be?
maybe a little while, have we said all of this about competition drifting? And it is certainly an aspect of the sport I love.
Yeah.
You see an event like Final Bout, Dori Dori in Japan.
Yeah.
That's a whole different take on the event. Grid Life's like Jake's just done again. Hello, Jake. Welcome.
Jake Cast. Jake Cast. Where's the bell? Ding, 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 ding.
But there's a big resurgence in fun events, stylish events. Like they don't need. Granted, okay, we're talking on the world stage at this point, but you don't need to be a competition drifter to be successful within our sport. And the pinnacle of that for me, like someone who I aspire to, is Hurt. Hurt is a huge. Hurt is a bit of me. Hurt is absolutely what I would aspire to be. Someone that goes out in a stylish car that he likes, throws down as best as he can, and has a wild time doing whatever he wants to do.
Break shit,
has fun with his friends, and is about that life. He has an interest in competition drifting, but that's not his focus.
He has a technical interest, but not a major technical interest.
No, he's interested in having a good time in a pretty car with his friends, and that is something that speaks to me.
Agreed.
I would love to be like, you know, I'd love. Hurt is the sort of aspirational. Some people might aspire to be like James Dean or Laurie Heinen, or you know, the competition route might be what they would love to do. But I think Hurt's living the life I'd like to live in our sport, and to build a fleet like he has, and have them all styled how he wants, and the cars how he wants them to be, and be able to make them sort of facilitate themselves to an extent with good marketing and a great sort of content and everything, and being able to make that series, that, like, you know, his hobby work for itself is very impressive to watch.
Yeah, I'd agree. There's no one else like him either.
No, there really
I wouldn't say there's anyone else in drifting like her, in the way that he's so captivating to watch. He's funny.
Yeah.
You know what you're going to get, but you still watch. Yeah. Like, you know you're going to get a low car. It's going to explode the bumpers. He's going to break something significant.
Yeah.
Like, you know what you're getting, but you're still all there for it.
Absolutely. And so is he.
Yeah, and so is he. Yeah.
I've seen him.
And he, as we said earlier, like I said about BMX, and you have a style, you know who it is before they even enter the track. He's the same. Like, you see her, you know what you're going to get. You're going to get some Larry coloured low boy on 3-piece Johnnies, as he'd call it, probably gold. You're going to get an engine that he always wanted, always works, and you're going to get panels blown off, a bonnet in the air, a rod out the block, and he's going to be stood there eating pizza in Crocs, having a great time.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've heard a rumour that next year he's building himself a competition car.
Is it?
And it's going to be an FC, and it's going to have a 4-rotor in it. That's his goal. But he wants to compete, but he wants to do it his way. And I love that. Yeah. He's living his sort of Forza dream. And his car literally was in Forza, but he's living his Forza dream on... He's building all these cars that he wants to build the way he wants to build them, with the engines he's always wanted, and then going and doing what he's always wanted to do with them. And I think that's something that I massively appreciate and respect and would love to do. Yeah, it's genuine. It's a genuine passion and love for the hobby. If you look at what he did at Hoonigan, that's a dream job for most people.
Yep.
And he could have been all aboard on the Ken Block train, which he absolutely was, but all aboard commercial motorsport and everything that, you know, the sponsors wanted to see. But he was the one stood there waving the flag for drifting the whole time, entry-level drifting as well, all over the country. And it's through his genuine love of it. And I think that's why he's so personable, and not everyone, but not, you know, a majority of people love him for it, because there's no false pretenses there. It's
he's completely authentic and genuine.
Yeah, and people I know that have met him have said that's just what he's like in real life as well.
But if you're acting a person, you can't act that person all the time. It's impossible.
No.
You'd have to be literally like schizophrenic. You can't do it. It's
No.
not possible. So you have, if you're all in like he is, you have to be genuinely all in.
Yeah.
Because you can't sometimes be all in and sometimes not.
No, you
they'll
can't
be like,
phone it in because
I saw him at Next Level and he didn't really want to know me.
Yeah. But speaking of Next Level, you saw the video of him at Next Level fucking living his best life. And he was in a shitbox E36. Granted, it looks sick because it was one of the muscle cars. Bouncing it off the scenery, and when he wasn't bouncing it off the scenery and it was broken, stood at the side of the track watching Magic Jet Ski fling an NAFC
That was funny.
around like a nut job, and still just as happy. Loved it.
Yeah.
And I think that sort of infectious passion is a great thing to watch, and a great thing for our sport as well.
Yeah.
On a whole, on a global scale.
He's an ambassador for drifting. And he's
Absolutely.
probably one of the best.
Yeah,
if
absolutely.
not the best.
Yeah, absolutely.
Especially for grassroots.
Yeah.
Grassroots.
Yeah.
You know, the people that aren't doing comps but want to still have a good time and throw down in high spec cool cars.
Yeah. And I would love nothing more than a fleet of red drift cars on big splits. I could build a garage of cars like that in a heartbeat. But they would probably be much like her, all with a different setup. Similar, so you kind of have that identity, which he does have an identity.
Yeah.
You see one of his cars, you go, that's one of Hertz cars.
Yes.
You wouldn't even need to know he's at an event and you would see that car, or see it on the internet and you go, oh, that must be Hertz' latest build.
See it on a computer game. Oh, yeah. There's cars on there.
Yeah, you would know that straight away. And I think that's a really cool aspect that he's managed to keep across the board, whilst having a 300 horsepower NA86 and a rotary FD and a rotary drift car and then a LS turbo drift car. You know, he's got a K24 S13. He's got a bit of everything, and they're all.
But wouldn't you if you had the money?
That's what I mean.
I wouldn't just have RBS 15s.
No, I mean I'd have a few RBs spare.
Yeah, I would. Yeah. You need.
But
that.
yeah, no, absolutely. You would. Yeah, I'd love to do that, and I think that's someone that we're lucky to have in our sport.
Haitian boy with a dream.
And he's a rapper. Who knew?
Yeah.
Who knew?
Baby got Brap.
Yeah.
Well, we're Norfolk boys with a dream.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that's cool as well. But then that, you know, he leads on to things like Final Bat. He's a judge at Final Bat, and that's a great way of getting into that aspect of the sport is really exciting too. And that is probably the emphasis of expression, because it is the styling of the car. There is no line. There is no kind of fixed way of doing it. But you can go and do an event like Final Bat, and you can have like the Risky Devils boys, where there's 8 identical. They're not identical actually. There's an E30, there's a GS300, there's a S14, a 15, a 13. But they're all styled the same. They're all a team, and that aspect of sort of the expression of the sport, I think, is a really fun thing that you don't see in many other motorsports.
No,
you see teams obviously, but not.
Yeah, but they tend to be like works teams.
Yeah,
and they're doing it because they have to do that because that's what the sponsors want. And actually, they're not. They hate each other, and the two teams hate each other.
You need to hear the bickering amongst the teams.
It's just so pathetic. But it makes it like less enjoyable.
I think so.
I'd much rather see Max Verstappen, Lewis Hamilton, and Charles Leclerc race Formula One, get out, crash into each other, and be high fiving. And be like, sorry about that, mate. That was sick. Like, we were having a great time, and then you clipped me and I clipped you. Oh, that's a shame. But that was sick until that point. Yeah. That's never going to happen. No, there's too much money and time, and it's so pent up. Which which is exactly what I said about me doing competition drifting.
Yeah.
I think if I did competition drifting, it would be like that. There'd be
Take
so
it
much
all too
time,
seriously.
so much money, so much emotion, like everything involved in it.
And I saw that years. I worked with 4BDC for years as a marshal there and Starline marshal and stuff. And I saw people come and go, and they'd come into the sport. They'd do well for a couple of weekends. They'd then next season they'd build a everything car all in. They'd remortgage. I've heard people remortgaging houses, credit cards, life savings. One bloke spent his house. He'd saved to buy a house deposit with his wife. Spent it to go drifting. Blew the car up at the first round. And then because they're so invested and stretched and
I mean,
they're all in.
It's credit to them that they're so dedicated.
Yeah, absolutely.
But
they're all in and then lose the reason that they started doing it in the first place. There isn't the enjoyment
also
because there's so much pressure on themselves.
You then become. It's almost like there's so much pressure. There's so much everything. You become like
a slave to the sport.
Yeah, and like immediately negative towards it. Oh, this car has cost me a fortune.
Yeah.
Oh, I've got 25 tyres there. Oh, they're 100 quid a tyre.
Yeah.
Oh, it's $2,500.
Yeah.
Oh, my trailer's got a fire. And then like, before you know it, you're almost like so negative because it's so heavy on you.
Because it's all consuming, and it is literally all consuming. And normally, let's be real here, the main stress of drifting is the financial side of it, because it just is. It's not even just the time, it is the financial side of it.
It was, for me, it's both, because same as we said before, I'm technically self-employed, although I'm a director of a company. If I'm not at work,
you're not making any money.
Shit doesn't get done. And if it doesn't get done, I'm not making money. So if I'm away for a week drifting, it's cost me $2,000 to go drifting or $3,000 or whatever, but it's not. It's cost me $3,000. Plus those 4 cars haven't been prepped. That car that was supposed to be sold isn't going out till the following week. Those 3 cars haven't been picked up. So it's not cost me $3,000.
No.
It's cost me $5,000, $10,000, whatever. And when people say, "Oh, it's all right for you. You've got a business, or you can put that through your books." You're right.
Yeah.
But like, there's also so many
implications to that.
So many implications and added pressure, especially if you're a small business.
And I think I feel the same way about competition. I don't have the budget flat out. I barely have the budget to go drifting as much. Well, I don't have the budget to go drifting as much as I want to. But I've always liked the idea of competition. But I've seen so many people come and go from it, and come in very positive and leave very dejected and very poor because they've put everything into it and they didn't really have the budget to do it. And I think that is something that puts me off it massively. And I am more along the lines of have a good time with your friends, just like you are.
Yeah. Likewise,
in a different manner. But
if Quaif, Winters, Wise Fab, Zestino, Sonico Fuels
we'll have a crack.
If they want to jump on board, I'll happily have a go and represent. We can change the livery, it's not a problem. I'd love to have a go. My concern is, like, if I'm doing it, I'm doing it.
Yeah.
And if I'm doing it and I'm doing it, I'm going to have to do it well. And if I'm going to have to do it well, it's going to cost time and money. It's going to cost time and money, and it's going to come with pressure. The pressure I can probably deal with. What I can't deal with is...
Dwayne McKeever says pressure is for tyres.
Literally. But like McKeever.
Yeah, McKeever, yeah.
Like
private team, very small private team.
Goes to Spain.
Yeah.
Ripping in practice.
Flying.
Rebuilt
the car in the off-season as well to make the car as best as it can be.
Probably one of my favourite, if not my favourite competition driver.
Agreed.
Doesn't even make qualifying.
No. And not... So
and not his fault.
All season last year, transmission, driveline issues, gearboxes, diff shafts, and the season before. So coming into the 2024 season, put a Winters in his car for the first time. Had always run GTR diffs. Put a Winters in his car, rebuilt his gearbox again, refreshed it for the season. Still had nothing but driveline issues and mechanical issues. Been through the car again this year, put a brand new G-force in the car, rebuilt the diff again, perfected the car, taken a load of weight out of the car to try and take some strain off the driveline. Goes to round 1, well, what has become round 1, and a bit of rubber goes in the cam belt and drops a valve on his billet engine and game over.
See you later.
Yeah. So an issue that has never been an issue before. He's run his engine setups like this with no front timing cover on them for 12 years. Never had a problem. and
Ironically,
a freak accident.
2 Irish guys in the same weekend,
Yeah.
the same issue.
Yeah, but you know that's the heartbreak of competition drifting that I'm not sure I can cope with.
I could cope with it if there was no expectation and the bills were paid. I.e.,
Yeah.
you've got a load of sponsors that, as long as you've done your sponsorship obligations, you've done your videos, you've done your posting, you've done your events that they want you to do, you've done your meet and greets, you've given out your merch, you've done everything you want to do, and you've helped your sponsors. Okay. But if you're going because you've mortgaged your house, you've put everything you own in Valinos and an RB28 and a G-Force dog box and a Winters quick change, and you go to round 1 and you don't even make qualifying,
You grenade it in practice.
I think I'd be jumping off the ferry on the way back.
I don't think I could deal with that even if it was all paid for. It would piss me off too much.
Yeah.
It would
Be
annoy
interesting.
me
We
too
should
much.
probably try and have a chat with like Bagsy or someone if we can.
Yeah.
And interesting to see their take on it because, I mean, obviously Bagsy's heavily sponsored by Monster Energy
and lots of other
Yuasa and Snap-on and all
So
these.
huge obligations.
Yeah.
For
And
sponsors
there must be a lot of pressure that comes with that.
that the average person wouldn't think of.
No,
I should think as well.
but you don't know because you don't know what it's like.
Exactly. Yeah.
Be interesting to have a
Maybe
chat.
that's one for the future.
Yeah, Bagsy, if you're.
Yeah. But then again, that then, like I said to you, that then takes me more towards the fun side of drifting, the no pressure, the hobby, the hurts of this world. That's my thing because I think you can go and express yourself. You have a laugh. If it all goes tits up, all your mates come over and go, no bad, that you blew that up again, and then you go and watch your mates do it. And to me, I have as much fun watching my friends drive as I do driving myself. So
money no object. We're doing Drift Masters.
would I do Drift Masters? No.
Would you not?
I don't think I don't think I'm good enough, and B, I couldn't deal with the pressure.
But money no object. So I'm saying like someone comes and gives you £200,000 Supra, unlimited tyre budget, and says, right, you've not got the experience, but we believe that you've got the talent, Mr. Pete.
I'd have a crack.
Go and we're going to rent out Rockingham, rest in peace. Let's bring that back up. We're going to rent out that for a month, and you can go and do 150 tyres to get yourself comfortable in the car, and you still wouldn't do it.
Any of us would have a crack, but I wouldn't go into it confident.
No.
And I don't think I could wholeheartedly go in it thinking I could do well here. And if I can't go into it doing that, I don't want to do it. If I can't, I'm too competitive to go in and make up the numbers. If I couldn't go in with thinking I got a fucking chance here,
but
no matter what the budget,
but then how do you learn?
Pardon?
How do you learn? Because you're not going to learn. You're not going to learn that until you do it, and you're not going to learn to drive at that level unless you drive at that level.
Yeah, I still don't think I would. I think I enjoy watching it, and I'm quite happy watching competition drifting. I don't think I have enough. I don't think I have enough interest in that level of competition. If someone said to me, "Here's a £200,000 budget to go do fun events for the year," bring it on. I'll build you a car and I'll
go to the next level.
Yeah,
I'll go to this.
Watch this. Watch me set fire to this money in 3 events.
That's interesting.
I don't think I have enough of an interest in it. I think because I was around it so long, for so many years, and saw how much stress and strain it put on people.
Yeah.
Even people with big budgets at the time, people that didn't need to worry about the finances of it particularly. I know everyone does. Even rich people don't like spending money.
I hate it.
But
I'm not rich though.
But I saw so many people have the joy of drifting sucked out of them.
That's my
through
concern.
that avenue. That I enjoy watching the best of the best do it, but I don't want to do it. I would much rather do anything but that. I'd rather go and do final bout or something like that, and that's much more my sort of style anyway. To drive at, to enjoy.
It's interesting.
Would you? Would you?
No.
Which sounds a really backward response.
Yeah.
Doesn't it? If someone said, "Oh, money no object, go ahead."
Money no object. Well, no, you said 200 grand. If I had if someone said, "Here's 200 grand to go do drifting for a year or two or whatever," I would do more events like you've just said with this car in this country. I'd probably change a few little bits and bobs, but I would do your Mat Series, your Silverstone events, your chip it to Euro Crew in Spain and do their event and Next Level and stuff like that. And I would buy a car in Japan and I would go and do all of the ones you want to do, the Nikos.
I think I would agree with you on
Ibisu, the Mayhan. I'd go and buy an S body probably, because it's what I'm used to.
Yeah.
It'd be SR. It'd be on a decent gearbox with a decent rear end in it, GTR rear end,
And
400
fly around
500 horsepower, and I'd go rent one of those or buy one of those trucks with the tilty jobs on them.
So cool.
Have a tyre rack, and I would go to Meihan and Nikko and Bihoku and Ibisu and go and do all of them, because I think you'd a lot of crack. You'd use a lot of that money doing that, granted, but I think you'd have so much more experience, fun. You'd learn a bit of the culture. You'd learn how they do it versus how we do it. You'd get to drive some of the most unbelievable tracks in the world.
Yeah.
And I think that whole experience would be way better than I went and did Drift Masters and I came sixth. And the rest of the time I didn't qualify.
I couldn't agree more.
And it cost me £250,000. A relationship. Yeah.
And my
hair.
literally.
Literally.
It wouldn't. I don't think it would. I think the pressure there is immense. Whether it's self-imposed.
And the Shanahans are thinning. Their hair's thinning.
Yeah. Whether it's self-imposed or otherwise, like it's wild to me that is.
It doesn't seem fun.
No. It seems more fun to watch.
But then, having said that, Dave Egan sat there crying in the car after he qualifies. But is that a release of stress? Is that?
I think it's an aspirational thing. That it's something he's always wanted to do. So to be there in that moment and have achieved it, and he's had a hell of a few years.
Yeah, he's had a bit on his plate.
He's had a tough couple of years. I think and he has been successful. Thus, people want to see him fail because the psychology of the world is bizarre.
That does seem to happen.
So I think to prove himself was a huge moment for him, and a moment he should be very proud of, and I think was.
Yeah, I think he did well.
Yeah.
Considering he was at the deep end, really at the deep end, with a car that had problems. He didn't get much practice. A track they've never driven. He's never commentated at.
He's well out of his depth.
Well out of his depth.
But he didn't embarrass himself.
He's got hours of seat time, not weeks, months, years of seat time.
He's been driving for a long time, but not
like that.
Nowhere near that level.
Not like James Dean or the Shanahans.
He's not really competed. He has competed in the last couple of years in IDC and stuff, but not really fully all in committed.
I'll tell you one person that I thought would do Drift Masters and hasn't.
Who's that?
Kevin Quinn.
He did it.
But he hasn't done a season, is what I meant, sorry.
He has. He did a full season about 4 years ago.
Did he?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't.
And I think
realised
how much money he spent, and
yeah, his lorries do well, but not that well.
No, he did. He has done a season in the past, and he was always very exciting to watch. As Kevin's always is very exciting to watch.
Kevin's a McKeever. He is like loud pedal down.
Yeah.
Let the rev limiter do the work.
We'll slow it down with the clutch.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did do a full season, and he did okay. He didn't do incredibly. He didn't do badly.
Yeah.
And I think looked at the expenditure at the end of it and the result and thought that was a lot of stress for.
As we did a few weeks ago, did the maths and the maths weren't mathsing.
No, didn't like the end result of it, so went rallying instead.
Yeah. Irish, obviously.
And still has his drift car that he does demo stuff with.
Yeah,
went rallying instead. So
can't blame him.
No, I can't blame him at all. No.
So after all that, Drift Masters is the best series in the world, but we wouldn't do it.
Yeah, basically, yeah. That's exactly.
And we won't do FD because it's in America and we don't like the judging. And we won't go to Japan because snap to angle's cool, but you don't like just snap to angle.
No.
And you don't speak Japanese, and you don't have Valinos in 20-inch sizes.
No. So no.
So
and I just want to be like Hurt.
Basically, you just want.
I just want to be Hurt.
Yeah.
Hurt's living my best life. I think.
Norfolk boy with a dream.
Yeah, I'm sure it's stressful, but it looks like the results are more.
I would imagine it's been stressful. I think it's easy to say from looking on Instagram because no one
it's
ever
the highlight reel, isn't it?
Their real life on Instagram, but it looks like he's got himself into a place now where he's doing well. He's in with T-Pain, who's got the financial backing to put on these events
and give Hurt the creative freedom to do what he wants to do.
Yeah.
And I think that's.
Hurt has an idea, goes to T-Pain. T-Pain goes, that's a good idea. Yeah. And it's like, what do you need?
Yeah.
Let's make it happen. And it seems to be working, but it remains to be seen as to what comes of it. But I hope he does well.
Yeah, I do too.
Hope they both do.
I think he's doing what we would all aspire to do. And he's making a living out of his passion.
If you had a glistening rap career and you could just...
Well, yeah, perhaps I just need a Need one belt. You only need number one once, don't you?
Yeah.
Perhaps we need to write a Christmas song. Well, it's everlasting, isn't it?
What a drifty Christmas song.
No, that's not.
Christmas
Terrible.
got brab.
Christmas got rap.
Yeah, literally.
With a W. But yeah.
So that's the end of this week's episode. Hope you enjoyed it. We certainly did. You can follow us in the meantime on Instagram at idle.chat. YouTube is at Idle Chat Podcast. And personally, my Instagram account is AdamMS15 and Callum is at Callum_Pete.
Yep, and these podcasts are available on YouTube, on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, anywhere where you enjoy listening to your podcasts. We really hope you're enjoying these. Obviously, we're a few deep now. We love to hear your feedback. We've had some great feedback, actually, and it's really helped us to kind of build on this and develop this, hopefully, into something that you will continue watching and enjoying. So please feel free to hit us with anything you think we could do to improve.
Yep.
But as for that, we'll see you next week. Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye.
Oh,
That's all right.
What's she ringing me?
Emotional damage.
I'm podcasting.